Hey, Larken Rose here, and I talk a lot about philosophy and principles and general stuff that has to do with morality and peaceful coexistence and non-aggression and all that. There are a whole lot of government conspiracies that I don't get into, and I've explained why in the past, because whether people are aware of and understand particular conspiracies or not, for example, how the monetary system works, that giant fraud that is the Federal Reserve. In the end, it doesn't matter. If they give up the belief in authoritarianism and statism, all that falls apart, even if they never understood it, even if they never knew it was happening at all. And that's true of so many different things, and things relating to warmongering and drug smuggling and everything under the sun. And a lot of the times focusing on individual examples of tyranny and abuse and nastiness is just, for me at least, and I assume for other people, it's just sort of frustrating and stressful and annoying. And if there's not something you can immediately do to stop it, it's just kind of a source of depression and anger and whatever else. And so I don't usually talk about the specifics. I have to mention one today, and it also doesn't matter whether people agree about the specific conspiracies. Like, a bunch of people think that the war on drugs was to reduce drug use. No, it wasn't, ever. From the beginning, it was a way to gain power and money and create a black market that would create violence and enrich the government. And the CIA has been running drugs forever. Now, if somebody doesn't believe any of that or doesn't know any of that, it doesn't make any difference to the philosophical thing, which is why I'd rather focus on the principles of statism and why it's inherently insane, whether or not they believe those in power are like well-intentioned and trying to use the ring of power for good. Doesn't matter. Either way, the outcome is evil, immoral violence. And so most of the time I don't want to focus on something where a lot of people will go, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory or something, because it doesn't matter if they understand any particular conspiracy theory, because all of them fall apart if people stop believing in statism. But I'm going to mention one today, and it's kind of as bad as you can get. The movie Sound of Freedom just came out. I have not watched it. I'm probably not going to watch it. I would encourage lots of other people to watch it. The reason I'm probably not going to watch it isn't because I don't think it'll be a good movie. It's because it'll just piss me off and remind me of horrible crap going on in the world that I already know about and try not to continually expose myself to, because it just pisses me off because there's nothing I can do about it right now. Or almost nothing. But I very much want people to be aware of it. The reason I don't usually talk about particular things is because I don't want to get into a debate about the factual reality of certain specific conspiracies, because that tends to drag away from the thing that I always focus on, that I think is the most important, which is the belief in authority, upon which all these nasty, horrible conspiracies rest. Like, they can't happen at all without that, or at least nowhere near the same scale. But I did want to point out that there are things about the trafficking, the child trafficking, it's talking about it just makes me want to kill people. And that's sort of the point, is I think that if all of this country, or even the whole world, could see for 10 minutes, 10 minutes of video of what the people they vote for and believe in have actually done behind closed doors. And I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans and people in all parties all over the world. It's not all of them. I think especially low-level politicians can at least mean well and try to be half decent human beings. But there's a lot of people very high up who are just heinously despicable human beings. In fact, barely worthy of the term human being. Who, if the general public could get a peek into some of the things they do behind closed doors, there would be public executions. And I'm not kidding, and I'm not exaggerating. And people would be like, wow, you're that messed up. Like, we knew you were kind of crooked and you were being bought off by these various corporate interests, but wow, you're that deranged and evil. Now, I'm not going to get into the names and specifics, and like, there's tons of people who delve into that way more than I do. But just the fact that Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, he's in prison, and everybody who already has any idea of just how evil these people are is like, yeah, he's going to commit suicide, and then he committed suicide. Now you can debate whether he's even dead. Like, if I had that many billions of dollars, I could fake my death pretty well. But about the dumbest claim there can possibly be is the claim that he killed himself. Like, of all the ideas of what happened, that's the dumbest. But to me, that wasn't even the telling thing. It's the fact that nobody in the mainstream media and nobody, Democrat or Republican, in mainstream politics were like, we got to get through this. We got to find that list. We got to expose that list. We got to find out who was there and tell people about it. It's like, why are none of you talking about this? And I know some people are going to say, well, Trump did. No, not really. He covered for it. And when Ghislaine, or whatever the hell her name is, when she was arrested, he was like, well, I wish her well. Yeah, I think they had a property near mine. Yeah, you flew on the damn plane too, you lying scumbag. And he's like, the age of the victims of the predator can make it even more horrible, but like, they're all pretty much predators and all deserving of a horrible fate. But the fact that these things can happen, and then a movie like Sound of Freedom comes out. Again, I haven't seen it, but I know the general gist, and I know that they dare to point out that, yeah, this sex trafficking, including of little children, this isn't just, oh, some horrible criminals over there. This is connected to people in very powerful positions, which is why something like Jeffrey Epstein happens at all. I don't just mean him suspiciously dying in prison. It wasn't suspicious at all. It was obviously not a suicide. But he has dirt on all these people, and the list of people like slowly leaks out. Like, you were on the plane and you knew him. How did he have all this influence all over everybody? There's a game that's going on behind the scenes that I don't usually talk about. It just explained why. Where if you're going to be part of their game, they, the ones who actually own and control everything, are going to make sure they have dirt on you, and they have blackmail, or way worse, on you, so that they can absolutely destroy you, cage you, kill you, whatever, and have the whole world hate you, so they know that you're not going to go rogue and you're going to play their game. You can pretend to be against them. Like Trump pretended to be anti-establishment, and then appointed all the same bankers and appointed all the same warmongers, and then like did nothing to actually like pose any threat to the authoritarian power of the federal government. None whatsoever. I mean, there's only so much a president can do, but the things he could have done, he didn't. He suddenly stopped talking about, like, he could have declassified everything related to 9/11, because I think the president can unilaterally do that. Surprise, surprise, he didn't. He could have pardoned all the people in prison for victimless crimes. He didn't. Because he's one of them. He puts on a show. But anybody who gets that close, they have dirt on them. And I don't just mean like, oh, you moved some boxes you weren't supposed to. Give me a break. Like, anybody cares about that crap. No, I mean the real heinous stuff. And that's how the machine keeps control over all the little cogs. Because everyone they have dirt on to one degree or another, including just profoundly heinous stuff. That's why Jeffrey Epstein was what he was. That's why he was rich. And that's why they stomp on the story and suddenly, oh, yeah, well, he killed himself. Yeah, nice joke. And she was convicted. And, yeah, for as tons of memes have pointed out, they were convicted of trafficking underage kids to nobody, apparently, and nobody in the mainstream seems to have any curiosity about it. Nobody, none of the politicians are saying, let's find that list. Gee, I wonder why. And the trouble is, normal people have such a hard time, and this is understandable, they have such a hard time imagining those in power being that frickin' demented and evil. They think, well, yeah, you're corrupt and you get paid and stuff, but you sort of mean well. And they can't comprehend how sociopaths and psychopaths actually function. So they don't want to imagine it. Which I sympathize. Like, normal people are going to project their own goodness onto a psychopath and go, wow, they wouldn't do that. Yeah, they would. And they have. And right now, you're seeing one of the telltale signs of that. The fact that this movie comes out, first of all, Disney and then Netflix sat on it. I forget. The ownership of this movie has been tossed around a little bit. And they were just sitting on it for a while. And then somebody bought it and, like, bought the rights to it and actually released it as a movie, and it's doing huge. Lots of people are going to see it, and lots of the mainstream media are already bashing it and condemning it and demonizing it. Oh, don't go. This is just crazy conspiracy theories. The idea that the elites are tied in with child sex trafficking. Like, so that's your focus. There's a movie about something really happening, which you all know is really happening. And your focus is to make sure that your political masters, nobody's suspecting them of doing it. Even though they totally are. Because you're not reporters, you're lapdogs for people deranged enough to be involved with this evil crap. And so, after this, I'm going to get back to not talking about that stuff, but I think it's so telling when psychos and all of their lapdogs in the media and all of their collaborators and excuse makers, when they're this obvious about trying to bash anybody pointing out that just unspeakably evil crap. Not just, oh, you raised taxes when you said you weren't going to. Like, whoop-de-frickin-do. These people are way more deranged and demented than most people could imagine. And I think that someday, and it may be very soon, hard to tell at this point, technology is going to make it so somebody's going to get their hands on the dirt. In fact, we may have gotten really close to that with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff going on, where somebody's going to release it, and then people are going to see. And then they'll say, well, it was fake or something, because now you can fake anything anyway. But the shock and horror that a lot of the world would feel when they realize just the depths of the evil of the people who gravitate towards power and the people who achieve high office. Yeah, that would traumatize the whole world, and I love the fact that this movie's coming out. Again, haven't seen it, and probably am not going to, because it would just be, like, horribly frustrating and depressing. Because I'm already aware of that crap. And I want lots of people to be aware of it. So I love the fact that the movie's coming out. But I think there may come a day when suddenly lots of people are smacked in the face with the reality of just how profoundly demented these people are. And it isn't just, oh, you're just a little bit of a self-serving politician. It is so, so much worse. And when that day comes, it'll be interesting to see what people do, because the system's going to cover for itself. It'll make excuses. For some reason they weren't looked into. I mean, the FBI does that all over the place. The government does that all over the place. We make sure to squelch any investigation which shows, like, the real evil crap that our masters are doing. We'll put on a show like we give a crap about, you put that box over there when it was classified a certain way and it was supposed to be like, whoop-de-frickin-do. Like, nobody really cares about that. But they have to put on a show of that as a distraction so people don't focus on, like, realizing, are they involved with the, like, really heinous crap? And yeah, they are. And I'm going to stop talking about it again. Mainly I pointed out because the propaganda and psychology side, this is demonstrating how panicked the tyrants are when somebody comes out with a movie like Sound of Freedom and a bunch of them have to jump on board bashing and demeaning, this is just ridiculous conspiracy theory. And yeah, no, it isn't. And lots of people are lining up to see the thing because they're realizing, yeah, maybe the people in power really are that frickin' screwed up and that evil. And yeah, if they ever suddenly get a full, undeniable slap in the face of what's going on and what's been going on for a very long time, they're not going to wait around to vote them out. They're going to do something rather more dramatic. And even that, to me, doesn't fix the problem. As long as they believe in statism, they'll just build another one, which is why I'm focused on the principles, because that's the thing that has to go. Without that, they wouldn't have the power to do any of this crap. But it's, a really rude awakening for a whole lot of people. Seems to be this far away at any given moment. And it would be fascinating to see how they actually respond if somebody releases a thing. I mean, just the crap with Hunter Biden and the videos and pictures of him that they downplayed and pretended they weren't real. And that's not really his laptop. And Russian disinformation, just making up random crap when it's out there. Like, people are posting it, people are referencing it. Like, that's pretty bad. It gets worse than that, like a lot worse. And if people could see it with their own eyes, I think that's gonna have an interesting effect on how Americans deal with their government. But to me, the collapse of this empire, however it goes down, that isn't the solution to anything, but it is an opportunity while the current regime is falling apart at the seams and while people are figuring out, wow, they really are these insane, evil psychos. That is the time when people need to be pointed in the direction of giving up statism entirely so they don't just build another one. It's like, yeah, these individuals are that evil and that creepy and that deserving of, like, immediate horrible death. A whole lot of them. Again, I'm not going to mention which names or make any particular accusations. Doesn't even matter to the point here. But in the end, that is a direct result of the belief in authority. All you people out there who are law-abiding, paying your taxes, you fund the machine that makes this stuff possible. And that has the laws and has, people for, we need border controls. Do you realize how much power you are giving to creepy psychopaths by letting them control the borders? And how much corruption and crap can be done by way of that? How much the trafficking over the line, well, that's only a challenge because there's a border there, because there's a line. And it's not like individuals couldn't do nasty things, and because, nasty individuals will still do nasty things. But to make it a giant, institutionalized, enforced monstrosity that normal people can't resist, and you get people like Jeffrey Epstein, who's billions of dollars, massive influence on governments all over the place by way of, all the bribery and dirt. Like, without that game, the level of this problem would be minuscule compared to what it is. And that's why, to me, the focus is still the belief in authority. Because when it comes to, child sex trafficking rings, that, too, is made 1,000,000 times worse by the existence of government. And that's only there because people believe in authority. You could say the same thing about drug smuggling. You could say the same thing about warmongering. You could say the same thing about a whole bunch of things. But even the worst of the worst, like the worst things human beings can do, it empowers them and it makes it happen 1,000 times more often. And it makes them way harder to deal with. Because in a free society, somebody gets caught doing this stuff, they're dead, the end. Like, as long as it's proved, everybody knows, yes, you did that, you've proved it beyond any doubt, now you get to be dead. And right now we're living in a country of, oh, you're doing that stuff and lots of people know you're doing that stuff. Well, you're rich and powerful and you have money and influence, so you get to keep doing that stuff because government, without government, there would be chaos. So the mindset of statists is still the thing that has to change in the long run to make this kind of crap not happen. But in the meantime, if some evil psychos get exposed and horrible things happen to them, I'm all for that if it actually protects somebody innocent. But, I decided I'd make a video to address the real world, just heinous atrocities that people in power are committing and that the belief in statism allows them to commit. It empowers them and enriches them to a point they can get away with doing that stuff over and over and over again. So normally I speak in the abstract of principles and philosophies, But I thought in this case I had to make, point out this real world example. There are little kids being traded and sold into sex slavery by your government. I say yours, most of the people listening. And it's made possible by the people who are the law-abiding taxpayers, and they don't get the destruction of what they're doing. And usually I don't point out every little detail of all the atrocities of all these horrible things, because there's just so freaking many of them that it's just infuriating and depressing. But that's going on because of government. And if you're a law-abiding taxpayer, you're empowering the monster that's doing this evil shit. And the individuals involved, that's a secondary thing. You can throw them all into a wood chipper all you want. There's going to be more doing the same thing as long as that machine is there, making that a possibility for the most evil people in the world. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now because now I'm just getting pissed off. But that's the reality. I am happy to see more and more people learning about it. And in one way, it's very good to see those in power giving themselves away when they openly attack people pointing out something this evil. I think even normal people have to look at that and go, whoa, what? Like, if there were really nothing to this, would this be the reaction? Or would people go, yeah, that's a serious concern? So the propagandists for the government are giving themselves away as apologists for just the most horrible depths of evil there could be. And if there's any bright side in that, it's that when decent people can actually see that for what it is, then they might actually do something about it. So, anyway, that's enough for that depressing video. Return to your daily lives and don't believe in government.